who are writing again to call on behalf of the Little Rock City Board of Directors to restore city communication to its historical place after the consent agenda. We are volunteers who care about our city. We take time away from our families and other obligations to come before the board to raise issues of concern to us. We are not paid to come to the board meetings, and we ask that you show us courtesy and respect. We understand that there may be a need for time limits on comments. However, we believe this part of the agenda should be placed towards the beginning so that all board members are present to hear the concerns of the community. The concerns of citizens should be taken seriously. Time limits should be applied fairly. It is wrong for board members to leave when citizens are bringing up issues of concern. We hope that you agree that city government is stronger when its citizens participate and their voices are heard. I'd like to ask my fellow ACO members to stand up who are in support of this. And because you held your meeting so long, most of them left. We have a lot of seniors. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Webb. Let me just mention that the point about issues and concerns is also important to the people who have items on the agenda, and they sit here for hours as well, many times, and the rationale behind it is that they've waited patiently to have their issues addressed, and those are certainly their position is probably equally as important as issues that are not before us or issues that you wish to bring before us. So it's a question of balancing the rights of everyone, and we try to balance those. And there's a fairly strong feeling that the people who've had items on the agenda have a right to have those heard before those issues that are not on the agenda.
Mayor, I want to speak with regard to what Robert just said. Would you allow me to?
Go right ahead.
I want to thank Robert for his comments, and my request is to Mr. Moore. When Jim Bailey was mayor of this city, there was an alternate, and I'm asking that Bruce put that back on. Well, the first board meeting, citizen communication was prior to.
Yes, sir.
He knows what I'm talking about.
Yes.
And then on the third Tuesday, the residents spoke at the end of the meeting. And I think we owe them common courtesy. I think it's disrespectful that every board member, that residents have to sit here and listen to us jaw jerk a lot of what we do.
Amen.
And I think that needs to be changed. And I think Mr. Moore has the power to do that as city manager. And that's what I'm requesting of you.
Well, if you would like to make a motion to that effect, the mayor sets the agenda.
Just a second.
The mayor sets the agenda. I recognize that we have a fairness issue about people who have been waiting to have their issues addressed as well that are on the agenda, and making them sit back and wait while we have any number of citizen communication cards that we may or may not have. And in the context, if in fact what Director Hendricks says is important, and I'm not suggesting that it's not, there's not any logic to having an inconsistency of having it 1 week before we deal with the issues that we're debating, and 1 week where we do not. So if you'd like to make a motion to that effect, I'll entertain the motion, and we'll see if it's seconded. And if the will of this body is to do something different, then we'll recognize the will of the body.
I want to ask a question before I make a motion. Are you telling me that it's left up to this board to do what I'm asking you to do, rather than for the manager or for you to do it? The reason why I bring it up, I would have brought this up even if Robert hadn't been here, because so many of Ward 1 residents refused to come to this meeting after sitting here hour after hour after hour to talk. And I think it's unfair to the citizens. So I don't want them to vote. You know, they ought to use common sense. Maybe I'm going to make a motion. I want to do some testing. I so move that Mr. Moore would allow residents communication on one of the board meetings, which would be first, and on the third, then they would come after the agenda. That's my motion.
Okay. All right, is there
Director Hendricks, the motion really needs to be just simply that citizen communication would be at the beginning of the meeting or after the consent agenda.
So I just condensed what I said,
yeah,
right?
You don't need to direct Mr. Moore to do it at Charles' agenda.
Oh, okay. My motion is that citizen communication would be at the first beginning of the first monthly agenda meeting and at the third board meeting. And at the third board meeting, it would be after.
Both.
Am I doing, he said I did it right.
Okay, is there a second to the motion?
Second.
All right, there's a motion and a second. Discussion. Director Richardson.
Yes, Mayor, and, I don't think it should be couched as an either or, and I agree that while there are people here, issues are important to the people who show up here, but I think the leverage that we have with citizen communication that we don't have with some of the other issues is for citizen communication, we have a finite amount of time. We know that. These issues, these other issues, we don't have that same finite amount of time.
3 minutes.
So in some respect,
3 minutes.
some issues that some of us will come to and hear, and we expect that, you know, this is 15-minute, 20-minute discussion, unbeknownst to some of us, much of some of our amazement and amusement, it drags out to an hour, hour and a half. But citizen communication,
3 minutes.
we know everybody that comes here, unless there's questions from us, that's 3 minutes. And I don't think that's saying that those issues are more important than these issues, or these people who have issues here. And I'm not saying that the issues that these people here are more important than those who have a need for citizen communication. So I think it's unfair for any of us to couch it as an either or. But I think we're going to be mindful and respectful of the folks who we encourage them and we want them down here. And I think that sometimes, unfortunately, by the time some of these people get here, some of our citizens get here to talk about citizen communication, some of us are gone. So to that extent, I don't know how I would suggest that I would leave it up to you and the city manager to figure out a way to operationalize this so that, because you guys make the agendas and you guys know what we have coming before us, but I think we'd like to have some opportunities where we kind of rotate it, where our citizens come up and do citizen communication and then go home. And I think that makes sense.
Vice Mayor Ray.
Mayor and Mr. Manager and the City Attorney, I would like to see this adjusted. Coming from a background of being a neighborhood association president, we have sat down here many hours until midnight over the years that I was in this, from 1993 up until my 2007 election to the board, and it is tiring. And there should be some way to minimize this, even if it's on an alternative basis. I would like to see something done as well. Thank you.
Director Ashcroft.
I think that is your job and Mr. Boyd's job, and you've heard some citizens and some of us say we would like to have an occasional early time, and I'm going to leave it to you and not vote on this item. Thank you.
Well, let me just mention, we had about 18 or 20 cards today, and those people would have been delayed in front of their patients and what they were doing. We try to be fair about this. Perhaps we can, Mr. Moore and I can deal with the length of the agenda, but I will remind all of us that we certainly like to talk extensively about these issues. And so if the issue is somebody leaving, that's up to the elected board member about whether they choose to wish to wait and hear the importance of what citizen communication is. But to suggest that citizen communication is any more important than the issues that are actually before us and on our agenda, I think is the challenge that I have in terms of trying to be balanced about it. So let's not debate the issue. Let's go ahead and vote and see whether people want to change it or not.
Can I respectfully respond? Because I think you made reference to those 18 or 19 cards. I don't know how many citizen communications cards we have, how many people left, but if that's the only one, those 18 or 19 people would have been inconvenienced for all of 3 minutes.
Well, you may recall, Director Richardson, and I think all the board members can recall, we have had instances where we have had innumerable citizen communication cards about the same issue, frankly, and we have been here for, I believe we've had citizen communication for more than an hour on just cards on issues that were not before us. So let's go ahead and see if we can move forward. There's a motion. All in favor of the motion that we alternate citizen communication indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. The nays have it. We'll move forward.
Roll call.
Madam Clerk, a roll call please on the motion.
Director Richardson.
Yes.
Director Hurst.
No.
Director Kazor.
No.
Director Hines.
No.
Director Wyrick.
Yes.
Director Compuris. Director Fordson.
No.
Director Adcock.
Present.
Director Hendricks.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Wright.
Yes.
Director Adcock, would you like to change your vote?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Carpenter, does the chair vote on this motion or not?
4 to 5 to 1.
There's not a majority.